Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about dot books. Recently I did a poll where I asked you what kind of videos you guys would like to see, and one of the options on that poll was dot books, and that won pretty easily. So today we're going to be talking about dot books, the way that a drill writer is going to write drill, talking about that program a little bit so you guys can kind of understand that. And let's just get right into it. Okay, so what I have open right now is Pieware. So as I was getting set up for this video, I was making sure that Pieware was working so that I could just open it and not have a problem. So first I tried opening it from down here in the taskbar, and it wasn't opening, and I was like, oh, okay. So then I opened it from there, and then I opened, and it was like, oh, you need to update. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I haven't really opened Pieware on this PC since before I went on tour with Gold, and so then I went to update, and then now Windows is saying I'm running a virus. So that's very cool. Obviously, I'm going to run anyway, but it's just, Pieware is fantastic. Yes, I would like to do that. Okay, well, back to the video. 99% of drill writers are going to be using this program to write their drill. I have written 4 sets here. It's not the most coherent drill, but I'll let you guys watch it just so you can kind of see. So right here, this is the grid. This is what you're going to be working on to write the drill. A few things we need to talk about this grid. There are certain parts of the field that everybody needs to understand in every program when you're writing drill and you're having members read off coordinates. So I'm going to use the SkyCam right here to kind of talk about those things. So here we have this stuff. So there are 2 different sides of the field. There are, you can call it left, right. You can call it, I don't know what everybody calls it. Side A, side B, side 1, side 2. Generally, I use side 1, side 2, so that's just going to be what I use today. So this part of the field is side 1, because you're opening it like a book. Obviously, you read, unless you're from like Japan, you read left page first, right page second. So side 1 is on the director's left view of the field. Side 2 is on the director's right view of the field. Then there's other things. There's the front sideline, which is the very front of the field right here. There's the front hash, which is the very front of the front hash right there. Then there's the back hash and the back sideline. A lot of programs use different terminology. Again, there's home hash, home sideline, back, away. I don't know all of them, so I'm not going to pretend to talk about all of them, but at least that's the terminology I'm going to be using. So let's take a look at this drill. Oh, I need to select all of that. So I just wrote like a company front. It's really awkward. It just goes into a V, and then it goes into like a little curve here thing. And then the next 16 counts, the members run into a bigger curve, and a drill writer might write that to take them into like a follow the leader or something. It's not great. It's definitely not the greatest drill I've ever written, but I just wanted to write something really quickly so you guys could get an idea of how this works. So the drill writer writes all of that, and that's all they do for the most part. Obviously, they need to look at the transitions for certain members. Maybe somebody has like a massive step size, like right here. I think some people have like, that's a 3 to 5, a 2.9 to 5. So obviously it's kind of a ridiculous step size. So nobody is reasonably expected to be able to achieve that, especially in high school. But that's the things that a drill writer is going to look at when they're writing drill. So after that, the next process is to get the drill sheets and the coordinate sheets in the hands of the staff and the members. So next, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So this is a little coordinate sheet that I have here. It's got all the specifics for one person. So all of their sets there, all of their counts, their front to back, their side to sides, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have this. I'm going to be reading off of this so that we can kind of set up a dot book. Now, for the dot book, you might have something like this if your program is somewhat wealthy, but not everybody has that kind of money. And in fact, most programs don't. So what I like to use is just the little drill cards, and it's not a drill card. It's just an index card in like a little spiral booklet. And so generally what I'll do is I'll just put on the little lines, I'll put, okay, this is my first line. This is going to be my set number right here. This is going to be my counts. Then I have my front to back, my side to side, and then I have like maybe my measures right there. And so that's what I would use to write down all the stuff that's in the drill sheet itself. Now, we're not just talking about the drill sheet. Why would we talk about dot books if not talking about what a dot book does to be different from a drill sheet and what it adds to your program? So I'm going to be using this just as it's a little bit easier for me to kind of show you what I'm doing here, because sometimes I go on incoherent ramblings and you guys might need to be actually able to understand what I'm saying. So we're going to be writing down set 3 and talking about the different things that you can do in the dot book that's going to be different from the drill sheet that might help you or your program a little bit more. So obviously I'm going to put down the very, very basic stuff. Set 3, 8 counts. This is movement 1. The measures, let's just say it's like measures 10 to 11. Interval and guide, you can use that. Generally I don't. The members really don't need to know what interval they're in unless it's a straight line, it's a box, that kind of stuff. Maybe then you can kind of give that to them and say, oh, you're at 4-step intervals, so make sure you're 4 steps away. But if everybody hits their dots, everybody's going to be 4 steps away from each other, so it doesn't really matter to me. But the side to side, so we are side 2, I'm just going to put an S2. I like to shorten my language in the dot book a little bit because sometimes it gets tiring. And then 4, obviously we're talking about steps, and then I just put out for outside, and then I just put 40. So that congested all of that into something was way more easier. So 8 counts, movement 1, 10 to 11, side 2, 4 steps, outside, 40-yard line. That is a lot less to read than here, at least for now. Then front to back, I just put 8. B, I put for behind, so behind, or you can just put a B. And then I just put FSL for front sideline. So I've already taken that and written into the dot book. Now you might be saying, okay, so you've put that in. What makes this better than the dot sheet itself already? Well, first of all, the dot book is a lot more sturdy. The little tiny pieces of paper you're giving your members are going to get lost, and all of the directors understand this. Those papers get lost. The members say, oh, can you print me out a new one? And then you have to go in and actually look at the PDF, find the page that specific member's dot sheet is on, because usually it's not organized, and then go in and actually do all of that. It's a pain. It's very frustrating, but you give this to your members once, they write it down, then they don't have an excuse. Oh, my dot sheet got ripped up in the laundry, da-da-da-da-da. No, that dot book needs to stay on you, with you at all times. Cool. So now let's talk about what we can add to this to make this more beneficial than just the simple dot sheet itself. What information can we get from here that we can elaborate on in the dot book that's going to make it more useful to our program? To start off, let's talk about vectors.
Vector! That's me, because I'm
marching drill
with both direction and magnitude. Oh yeah!
So vectors are really easy. We know about vectors if you've watched Despicable Me ever. It's direction and magnitude. So direction and magnitude. How does it apply to drill? That doesn't really make sense. Well, the direction is the angle that you're traveling at, or that a member is going to be traveling at. And the magnitude is the steps that they're actually taking to get from one point to another. So let's say I'm starting at one place and I'm going to another. The magnitude would be how far forward or backward and how far left or right I'm going. So for some, let's just say it's like 4 and then 8. I'm going 4 steps forward, and then I'm going 8 steps to the left or right, depending on how you want to read this. And then that's the magnitude. And then the point between that line is the actual line that you're taking to that pathway. That's the direction. And so that right there is a vector. Now, secondly, we need to talk about midsets. So how do we take this and translate it into a midset that we can read? So it's super easy. The midset is mid, that's halfway. And so that point is going to be my midset. Now, how do I figure out what that midset is? Let's say I gave this a coordinate and this a coordinate. The vector is going to help me translate that into something that I can turn into a halfway point. Now, the halfway would be that, and that would be 2 and then 4. And so I just take that 2 and 4 vector, and then I translate that into an actual coordinate that I can read. So how do we apply this to our actual dot sheets in themselves? Let's go talking about set 3, and we're going to be going from set 2 to set 3, and let's find the vector in the mid set for that dot. So like I said, to start off with, I want to start off with writing my vector. And to do that, I need to first put on the previous dot, which is going to be set 2 on this little drill thing right here. And then I need to go to the new dot, which is going to be set 3, the dot that I'm actually at. So from set 2, first we start off with writing that. It's going to be on the 50-yard line. There's the 50 right there, and 12 steps behind the front side line. So let's just call this line at the front side line. 12 steps. Each of these little boxes is 4. So 4, 8, 12. I'm going to write the dot right there. And then I'm going to put down set 3. Obviously, I have that down right there. It's 4 steps outside of the 40. Outside means away from the 50. And then 8 steps behind the front sideline. So boom. Now I have my 2 dots on a sheet of paper that is easily read. I see my previous dot, which is that one. Maybe you want to do that in different color or in pencil instead of pen, like all that stuff. Like you can figure out how you want to see which dot is the previous dot, which dot you're going to. I like to use arrows. It makes it a little bit easier. But how do we find out our vector? So because I'm writing this on a drill sheet, it makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of understand. Now you can see those little grid points. So each of these little small grid points is a single step. So if I'm going from there to there, that's on this line, I need to find that. That's the little point. So that's the angle. So I go down here. That's 4. Let's see, hopefully that's legible when I zoom out. So that's a 4. And then I go over this way. And then I'm just going to use these to calculate how far over I get. So 4 is that, then 8, 12, 16, and then 20. So that's 20. 20. So that's 20. And then boom, I write down that and suddenly I have a vector. That was pretty simple, not a ton of math. The only thing that might have been hard for that was plotting those points on the actual grid itself. Some members might have a little bit of a struggle with that. But after you put that down, using the little grid there makes it way easier to figure out how far over you go, rather than having to look at, okay, go from on the 50 to 4 steps outside. How does that translate into a number? Now, eventually, you want your members to get really good at that so that I can look at, oh, I go from on the 50 to 4 outside the 40, and boom, that's 20 steps over. But not everybody's there yet. That's why these books can be a little bit more beneficial than just the index cards. So now we're going to talk about the mid set. Why do you want to do a mid set? The mid set is going to help your members have the proper angle. See, you can put down the angle on a piece of paper. That doesn't mean your members are going to take that. What you want to do is divide the singular dot into multiple checkpoints that your members can achieve. That way you're seeing them take the right pathway and the step size that they want to be taking. So I'm just going to put mid set right here. I'll just put mid. And to find the mid set, like I said, we would just divide this 4 by 2 and this 20 by 2. So that's going to be forward 2 over 10. So forward 2 from 12 steps is just going to 10 steps. So I'm going from 12 to 10. So 10 behind FSL. And then going 10 steps over instead of 20, that can be a little bit more hard. But then we can go back to this drill sheet. So here's 4, that's 8. So then I'm on the 45-yard line. And then I just go over 2. So I go to 2 outside the 40-yard line. And boom, there's my mid set right there. So that's the mid set. So 2 steps outside the 40-yard line. So 2 out 45-yard line, sorry, 45. And then I'll just put side 2, S2. Okay, so hopefully that kind of helps you get a good understanding of what things you can do with a dot book that are going to be a little bit more beneficial than just using the dot sheets. Members are lazy, and I'm not saying this from everybody's lazy, but like I said, I've worked with many programs and I understand what members like to do and what they don't like to do. Members don't really like to practice all the time. You kind of have to create that drive for them. Members don't like to do homework. Who likes to do homework? Nobody really. And to them, this feels like math homework. But if you can actually get your members to do this well, or even if you just are a member yourself and you feel like going above and beyond to figure out your gig, this is going to help you do certain things. For the mid set, if everybody has their mid sets running down and you're doing some type of line rotation, you can say, oh, hey, let's go to the mid set. Look at your dot book because you have it written down. Go to that mid set. We're going to take 4 counts to there. And that's going to help you kind of clean the checkpoints and the pathways between your members. Because if everybody has their mid set written down, you can have them find that halfway point and boom, you've got it done. So just a few things, obviously, with these kinds of dot books that are on Amazon, you can write down the music and stuff like that. But that's why I like to use these notes. I've seen members in the past. I think my favorite dot book I ever wrote, and this is when we did a dot book check for gold, was there was a member that had marched Santa Clara Vanguard. I'm not clear on how long she was there. I don't think she did the full season there, but she came to us, and I think within the first 2 weeks of her coming to us, and this is mid move-ins, we were doing the dot book check, and she had the most completed dot book that I've ever seen in my entire life, down to having all of this information. But also I think she wrote down like the actual body shapes that we had going on with the choreography, the counts for the choreography. And so that's something that you can't do if you just have a dot sheet. And as a staff member, remembering the exact counts for that choreography can be hard. You're not the one performing that choreography. You just wrote it and then you gave it out, and that might have been it. And then you're asking your members, oh, okay, what count was this, and what was the exact definition with the hand there? And not everybody knows that. But if you ask your members to write stuff like that down in the notes, that can be super beneficial to your program, because there's not a question of what it was. It's right there in writing. So that's just my thoughts on dot books. Hopefully this explanation was slightly coherent. I know that there was a lot to talk about here, whether it was the math behind vectors in mid sets or the purpose of a dot book, but hopefully in watching this video, you can understand why drum corps might use dot books, whether or not it could be beneficial to your program, and whether or not you want to spend the time to teach your members this. If you would like, you can show members this video to talk about what exactly a dot book is, what the things that you might be asking for in dot books. I really don't mind. All of this is strictly to be educational for both leadership of different programs and for staff members and for members. So if you liked the video, give it a like. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll try to respond. And other than that, I will see you guys next time. Good luck with your programs.